do appreciate the opportunity to stand before you tonight for a few minutes and present a lesson that I find myself needing every day. And I hope this lesson will be beneficial to you as well. We're going to start tonight in Ephesians Chapter 4 and read a few verses. After that, we'll read a few verses from James Chapter 1. Then we'll go to James Chapter 3. I'll have one verse from Matthew Chapter 5, and then we'll look at a verse in Exodus. You know, I've never been accused of having a lot of meat to my sermons. But tonight we'll at least have an appetizer and a salad and wash it down with a glass of sweet tea. And then we can call it a night. The lesson that I have chosen is a lesson that I did from December of 2019, entitled Our Temper and Our Tongue. It seems the older that I get, the more easily aggravated I become with things in life. I'm quick, too quick, to be verbal. Yes, I like to blame it on my medication. There are some medications that make you angry. Matter of fact, I get up in the morning and I get angry just when I go to the medicine cabinet and I look at all them pills that I've got to take. I've been on pills since I was 14 years old for a blood pressure. That was just one pill. I'm 52 now. Now I'm on 7 pills. So I take them pills and I go to the kitchen and eat a little breakfast. Then I look at 2 other pills that I got to take with my food. And I get aggravated again. Like, why am I taking all these pills? And I'm still having to deal with all these side effects of my medication. So then I leave the house, I drive down to the end of the street, and I get to that stop sign, and I look to the right, and I see all this line of cars coming up the road, and I'm ready to hurry to go to work. And I'm thinking to myself, why are y'all out on the road? Just go home, get out of my way. And I get aggravated and get frustrated. Then it's clear to the right, and I look to the left, and here comes a line of cars going the opposite direction. Then I get to the red light. Everyone has a green light in Jackson except me. When I get it, it turns red. Aggravation. Let's read Ephesians Chapter 4, verses 25 through 29. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be ye angry, and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication come out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And you can also go on to verse 31. It says, let all bitterness and wrath, which is anger, and clamor and evil speaking put away from you, and with all malice. But be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, as for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. James 1, verse 19 says, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let everyone be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to be angry, or slow to wrath, depending on what version of the Bible you have. Anger is defined by Webster as a strong feeling of being upset or annoyed because of wrong or bad. What gets you upset or annoyed in your life? I've already told you just a little bit about what annoys me, and I didn't tell you everything, but I just told you what a little bit. But there's going to be something in life that always agitates us or annoys us. And we just read from Ephesians Chapter 4, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to sin with your anger. And we're going to look at some examples later of people who did anger but did not sin. I say what's on my mind, not always thinking about how it's going to sound when it comes off my tongue. You've probably heard it said, it's not what you say, but how you say it. You know, feelings would probably not be hurt as much if we spoke our mind with soft words rather than harsh words. Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous or harsh words stir up anger. And then in verse 18 it reads, a wrathful man stirs up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeases strife. Are you slow to get angry? Or are you fast to get angry? When people hear the words that you speak, how is it received? Do they hear it with love? If it is, it should be received in love. Or is it spoken out of anger and hatred? It'll be received in the same manner. Do we desire to bring people to Christ? Or do we desire to push them away from Christ? How we use our tongues can make a difference. The song we just sang, Angry Words, it says, angry words are let them never from the tongue unbridled slip. May the heart's best impulse ever check them, ere they soil the lip. And it goes on to say, love one another. Everything begins in the heart. Why is there so much hatred in the world? It's not because of one or two people, it's because of our own heart. Good comes from our heart, or evil comes from our heart. We're the reason why we feel the way we do. Galatians chapter 6 verse 1 says, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one. How? In the spirit of meekness, gentleness, kindness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. We're not going to restore such a one if we go to them with angry lips. Think before you speak. Too often this is our downfall. We speak before we think. We must bridle or restrain our tongues. And we're going to look at that in just a minute from James chapter 3. Many people have disagreements. There's going to be disagreements in life. Some to choose to get in a shouting match. Some choose to slam doors. There's a song that says, nobody wins slamming doors. We both lost this fighting for it. I've only had a couple of loud disagreements in my 25 years of marriage. We choose the quiet way usually. We resolve not to speak at all. If I've done something wrong, we just choose to kind of walk away and calm down. Sometimes it's necessary just to walk away and clear your head. If you're hot-tempered, it may be that you need to leave for a time to gather your thoughts before you come back. However, as we read, do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Don't go to bed angry. Why? You're going to wake up the same way. Resolve your differences before going to bed. I recall once, and I actually raised my voice to my spouse, and all I said was 2 words. Right. Shut up. That's what I said. No, I didn't say it. I yelled. And she did. For a whole day. She didn't say a whole word. But being the man of the house, I got the last words in. I said, I'm sorry. And we've spoken ever since. Now, if you would read with me from James chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If many offend, not in word, the same as a perfect man, and able to bridle a whole body. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so the tongue is a little member, but boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter, or much wood, a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. And so is the tongue among our members, that it defiles the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it setteth on fire of hell. For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and every creeping thing, of all things in the sea, is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind, but the tongue no one can no man tame. It is unruly, evil, full of deadly poison. This warns us that our tongue, even though it is small, can be very powerful. The tongue cannot be tamed, but it can be controlled. And it's going to be controlled by me. My tongue can be controlled by me. Your tongue can only be controlled by you. And it can only be controlled when we're bridled. Sometimes it's necessary to bite our tongues. Yes, it hurts to bite your tongue, but sometimes it's necessary. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 7 says, there is a time to speak and there's a time to be silent. My wife used to tell me to pick your fights. In other words, when I used to get aggravated, because that's not worth getting that frustrated over. She said, pick your battles. If we choose to speak our minds, we must be careful how we speak. Proverbs 21:23 says, whosoever keeps his mouth and his tongue shall keep his soul from trouble. Angry words can destroy good friendships. Choose your words carefully if you don't want your friends to become your enemies. Psalms 55:12-14 reads, for it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. Neither was it he that hated me, that I did magnify himself against me. Then I would have hid myself from him. But it was thou, a man my equal, my guide, and my acquaintance. We took sweet counsel together and walked into the house of God in company. Not all anger is unrighteous. When Jesus demonstrated in Matthew 21, he demonstrated righteous anger when he overthrew the tables of the money changers in the temple. And many people will look at this and say that Jesus sinned because he lost his temper. You can lose your temper and not sin. But being human, we, more of the times than not, do sin when we lose our temper. Something makes our blood boil and we can't think straight, and before we know it, something slips from our tongue that we shouldn't have said because we did not bridle our tongues. 1 Peter chapter 2, 21-22 says, Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that we should follow in his footsteps, who did no sin. Therefore there was no guile found in his mouth. Now if you want to follow with me over to Exodus chapter 232, we're going to look real quick at Moses. Exodus chapter 32. beginning with verse about 15. Moses had been up on the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments. He's coming down. It says, and Moses turned and went down from the mount, and the two tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides, on one side and on the other they were both written. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon the tables. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, there's the noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hands, and brake them beneath the mountain. Then he confronted his brother Aaron for what happened. His breaking of the tablets of stone was not the result of a temper tantrum, as some may call it, but it was a sign to the people that the covenant with God was now worthless to them. Today, it would be like ripping up a contract. Moses was angry, but not for selfish reasons. He was angry because the people had rejected God. One should understand that righteous anger is a meek response to sin. Anger is often thought of as negative. Colossians 3:8 says, put away anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. However, there's a way to be angry and still do not sin. Jesus displayed righteous anger, and so did Moses. The major difference between sinful and righteous anger comes back to the reason of the anger. If our anger is because of selfish reasons, then it's sinful. But like Moses and Jesus, if one has anger because it is a sin against God, then it's righteous. How shall we use our tongues? If we use our tongues for good, it is sweet to the soul. Proverbs 16:24 says, pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. If we use our tongue for evil, beware, we will be judged by our words. Matthew 12:36-37 says, but I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give an account thereon on the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Proverbs 27:6 following says, the rebuke of a friend is better than the praise of an enemy. The advice of a true friend can be precious. Therefore, seek to hang out with good friends. How do our friends use their tongue or their speech? Do they use vain and idle words? I have co-workers that are good workers. They're not bad people at all. But they use bad language. And they're not even angry when they talk. It's just a part of their everyday life. They can't complete a sentence without using God's name in vain. And they probably don't even realize they're doing it. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, be not deceived. Evil companions corrupt good manners. We must be careful with the ones we call our friends, the ones we hang around. If we hang around long enough, we're going to become just like them. Love is much too pure and holy. Friendship is too sacred far. For a moment's reckless folly, thus to desolate and mar. We must love each other, and if we truly love each other, we will be aware of how we use our tongues. You know, Matthew 5 teaches that if we have a problem with a brother or realize that we have sinned against him, it says, 22, it says, "But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and remember that I have a brother that has something against thee, leave thy gift before the altar, go thy way first, and be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift." Today, what we do when we have a problem with a brother or sister in Christ, the tendency is just to talk about it on social media. And I've talked about this before. Social media can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing. Do we really want to win souls to Christ? We're not going to win souls to Christ if we put out there for all the world to see and name call them like, "You idiot. You know, you're going to hell." How are we going to cause someone to come to Christ by talking like that? Instead of telling a person that they're going to hell, why not try telling people why you're going to heaven? And maybe you would win them. Jesus taught in John 13, 34 through 35, we must love each other as he has loved us, and we will know that we are his disciples if we have love one toward another. What we may say or do must be motivated by love and not selfish desires. Our anger must be righteous. Are you angry tonight? I hope it's because someone you know is lost in sin and you want them to be saved. It's okay to be angry about that. Go to them in love and speak kind words to them. Repeating Proverbs 15:1 as we close. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous and harsh words stir up anger. May God help us to control our tongues. If you have a need to respond to the invitation tonight, won't you please come?